Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News.
Following the official flag off of electoral campaigns on Sunday, the Nigerian electorates are watching and listening with voters' card in hand. Joining us now are two political analysts, Akin Osuntokun and Femi Lawson, who will be speaking on how these campaigns seek to influence the decision-making process of electorates and what key factors determine who wins the race. Many thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Yes, good morning. Good Thank you for joining us.
Doctor. Good morning.
Good morning, Akin. Are you here with us?
Yeah, good morning.
Great. Thank you for joining us.
Morning.
Let me start with you since you're right here with us. I'm just going to paraphrase and read what President Muhammadu Buhari started with yesterday. He said, 4 years ago, we promised Nigerians real change in what we do and how we do it. Nigerians sent a clear message in the last election, and our platform offered a new, ambitious plan for a secure, prosperous, and corruption-free country. We have worked hard to fulfill our promises, President Muhammadu Buhari said yesterday. Now, he took time to recount some of the things his administration, beg your pardon, has accomplished, and what to look forward to in the next 4 years if given the opportunity. Do you think that this administration has kept to its promises?
Well, I think they'll start with, I think one thing is very important as we go into this electionary period, particularly that campaigns for the presidential and National Assembly positions have begun since yesterday. We must clearly focus on issues. And one thing that struck my mind yesterday was the opening page of that 72 pages document was not even the intro, just like what you just read out should have been. It was an attack on the main opposition party. That is the first page of that document. That caught my attention. That people who have ruled out for 16 years and have nothing to show for it are now preparing to come back again and promise us new things when elected. I think that, to me, is diversionary. And I think a campaign focus, especially at this very important period in our history, should be more issue-based. And like you rightly asked, I think they may have reasons to justify what they have done in the last 3.5 years or thereabout. But the truth is that a lot of expectations have not been met. The truth is that the promises, even at a point in time, were denied. And today, we are beginning to see those promises again being brought out as fulfilled campaign promises of the All Progressives Congress. And I think Nigerians must now look beyond this 72-page document presented as a roadmap by President Buhari and his party to asking questions about how fair we are as a nation. How have we been able to improve on the three cardinal promises of the Buhari administration, the security, economy, and corruption? And, before we critically look into what...
No, but the president, in terms of issues, since you are looking for issues, he also talked about education. Yeah. And he said his administration will build about 10,000 schools, a year, if possible.
And I think this is a very good time for us to ask deeper questions about the commitment of this administration to education. Should we be waiting for 10,000 more schools after 4 years at a period where all our universities are presently under locks and keys? Today, the colleges of education are not working. The universities are shut down. Basic education at primary level, there has been no improvement. Today, we have the largest population of out-of-school children in the world. And now we are looking at building more classrooms, in the next 4 years. I think the president should be able to tell Nigerians what he has been able to do in the last 3.5 years in improving the lot of Nigerians in the area of education.
He admitted that there have been challenges, particularly in the fight against corruption, in managing the economy, but he says he wants to take Nigeria to the next level. Do you think the
truth is this?
It's promising.
President Buhari and the APC must admit one fact for once. You were elected because you claimed things were not working as they should. And we all knew there were issues. Coming again to tell us there were issues is rhetorical, because I think it is not even what should be discussed at this very important time, because if there were no issues, there would have been no need for us to even have elections in the first place or changing government. And for the first time in Nigeria's history, we voted out an incumbent central government, you understand? And because there were expectations. And for almost 4 years, we keep roving around this same issue of the past. The truth is that we should begin to ask, what has been done to improve on these challenges? What has been done to improve on the challenges of corruption?
These same challenges have been there for the past
they will continue
20
to be there.
20 years.
They will
when you had
continue to be there.
PDP, the People's Democratic Party, in power. My question, however, to you is, don't you think that 3.5 years is too short for the administration to accomplish this high task?
No one is expecting miracle. No one is actually expecting a total accomplishment in this area. But what we are saying now is even contrary to our expectations. A lot of things have gone worse than they were before we, came up with this sloganeering of change. Today, if you look at our economy, have we done better than we were in 2015? Look at insecurity. Even this main, thrust of the administration, which is anti-corruption. Have we been able to address the issues of corruption than we were doing, in 2015?
Can you hold on? Femi, you sound anti-Buhari.
No, I'm
Somebody
not.
Watching us will say, this their guest is anti-Buhari.
That is one mistake a lot of supporters of even the president have been making. The moment you have any contrary opinion to whatever the president says or believes, you are easily termed as PDP, you are easily termed as anti-Buhari or Wela or whatever. But I think every patriotic Nigerians deserve the right, to criticize and ask questions, because these questions are fundamental questions. I travel a lot, but just a few days ago, I was still in some part of the Middle Belt. And I can tell you that to the average man in some part of Plateau State, what really concerns him is how we go to bed at night without waiting for JTF to come and secure his community. These are the real issues. For that man, you won't call that man anti-Buhari, because this man, every day he wakes up, he criticizes the government's inability to provide security for them in their houses, in their farms.
Just hold on.
Do we call them anti-Buhari?
Just hold on. You've commented on Buhari's proposals. Okay, what do you make of the proposals by the PDP, by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, presidential candidate of the PDP? He is launching his own campaign today. Yep. But from his reaction to what the Buhari camp said, we already have an idea of some of the things he wants to do. Mm-hmm. He wants to reduce unemployment rate. He wants to sell all 4 refineries. What does that mean? Does it mean we will now be importing fuel, right? He wants to reduce corporate tax. He wants to do 1,001 things, reduce recurrent expenditure, which is something we have always had. He wants to work harder on the petroleum industry bill, which, 2 previous governments have been working on. So what do you think? He wants to increase power generation to about 20,000 megawatts. Everybody promises we will do power. We will make sure there is electricity. But even those who said they will do the miracle in 6 months, they've not been able to do so. He is also talking about human capital development. Are these not the same familiar things that we hear? Or you are more enthusiastic about those proposals?
I've read both documents, the 63 pages that Atiku will be reeling out today, and the 72 pages the president presented yesterday. One thing that I've come to realize about the political system in Nigeria is that there are a lot of similarity in many of these ideas. If one is original to one, there are tendencies that the other may have to extract, and try to justify using its own tool. But I think, as it is, we must move away from the era of promises to marketing plans. Nigerians are tired of hearing promises. Nigerians are tired of hearing that you build refinery or you sell. Nigerians are tired of a lot of these promises, reducing recurrent expenditure, not only that we have had even governors saying this, we have had a lot of leaders in the past saying this. Now, I think any serious candidate for any serious position in Nigeria now must begin to tell Nigerians his or her plans for making Nigeria work. Because it is very easy to bring out 1,000 pages of document as proposals, as promises, as what you intend. But you must be able to tell us how you plan to do it. Okay, the incumbent administration promised to increase power generation. A minister even at this, when he was a governor said, oh, all it takes to generate a certain number of megawatts to put 1,000, I pass my neighbor generator together. And you see, but the truth is that between 2015 and now, how many more power stations have we been able to build? These are plans. It is not enough to say you are bringing 30,000 megawatts, but you should tell us how you intend to achieve this. And I think this is what Nigerians should be interested in hearing now, not promises. We are tired of hearing promises. It is not enough for the PDP presidential candidate to come and fault whatever this incumbent administration is offering Nigerians. But I think he must, like every other person, come out with critical plans that Nigerians will see has been achieved. It's not enough to promise 1,000 things. Let us focus on issues that affect our people directly for now, the issue of security, issue of our economy, which is very, very, unemployment rate is alarming. So I think there must be well thought out plans. This is what I think candidates should begin to market to Nigerians, not necessarily promises.
Let's go to Akin in Abuja. Akin, are you there? Are you still with us?
Well, I thought you'd forgotten me.
No. Of course, how can we forget you? We wanted to lay the foundation, and I'm sure you must have been listening to Femi Lawson. What is your take on some of the issues we have raised? What the two candidates of the two leading parties are proposing? The PDP candidate, President Buhari, the PDP candidate, and the APC candidate, President Buhari.
Let us start with President Buhari. He says that he wants to take Nigeria to the next level. What is your take on that?
Well, the prior challenge and task, to an electioneering campaign season is actually a bipartisan pact between the two leading candidates, to conduct their campaign as peacefully as it can be. And that is one of the good things we can take away from the last election. You remember, I think, Dr. Kofi Annan brokered something like a peace pact between the present president and former President Governor Jonathan. Now, which was good for the election. If it was a good thing to do at that time, it's even much more so now, because this government has perpetrated, created a kind of dangerous political situation, and it has fostered divisiveness in the society. It has fostered an environment that potentially predispose Nigeria to violence. So the most important thing we can do now is to think of measures in anticipation of that, of potential dangers that are on the way, on account of what has happened in Nigeria. I mean, we are talking about the Middle Belt. When you talk about the Middle Belt, I shudder, at the prospects of people going there to campaign. So that's one of the problem. But the thing about the performance and the conduct of this government is that, look, I realized, it struck me you were talking to my co-panelist in Lagos that he was anti-Buhari. Well, that is being objective. If being objective is anti-Buhari, we then cease to be objective. And look at it this way, right? There are many, credible international organizations that have no vested personal interest in what is going on. All you need to do is go and read the reports, be it the U.S. annual reports on countries, the Carnegie Foundation report, the World Bank, and lately the Mo Ibrahim Governance Ratings Index. All of them, without any exception, arrived at the conclusion that governance in Nigeria today is worse than it was before. We even scored lower than the African average and even the West African average. So that should give you, if you are looking for an objective assessment, that gives you, you know, a very objective way to look at it. Now, so the thing we can, well, the thing we can thank, given the history of Nigeria, one thing that we can thank God for is that both candidates belong to the same geopolitical constituency. In other words, I mean, quote and unquote, northern Muslim. So to that extent, you know, it is not vulnerable to the kind of divisiveness that Nigeria will have witnessed.
Well,
you know,
Osuntokun, if I'm butting here, I mean, President Buhari is asking Nigerians to ensure that the process is peaceful, that people should tone down their political rhetoric, that is looking forward to, you know, a free and fair and peaceful process. And he offered specific things. One, that he will do a lot more. Two, that his administration this time around will focus even more on education. If we can interrogate the candidates at the level of the issues that they are talking about, the other candidates, the leading candidate of the candidate of the PDP, is talking about specific things: reducing unemployment rate, reducing inflation, dealing with reducing corporate tax, focusing on job creation, focusing on human capital development. If you can interrogate some of those issues, rather than, you know, this broad assessment of the Buhari administration.
No. Look, the most important issue confronting Nigeria, and it is prior to any other challenge, and that is nationhood. Building a nation out of Nigeria. Unless you do that, any other thing you want to do is not likely to be successful. You know, you got to have a nation first before you, you know, respond to other challenges like education. And this government has done a lot of damage to that. And in any case, look, if you want to take the government issue by issue, it will expose so many, it will be so ridiculous, they will be so ridiculously exposed. Because look, and one of the peculiarities of this government is the gap between rhetoric and reality, between what they say and what is actually happening. You know, it has become so, you know, it's something perplexing. I mean, you hear some of the things that President Buhari would, for instance, say about security. Yet, you know, President Buhari was informed by the governor of Kaduna State that he was going to pick a Muslim as his running mate in a state as religiously volatile as Kaduna State. So to what purpose, how would that help the cause of security or peace in Kaduna State? There's no point, I mean, playing the ostrich. You want us to talk about issues. Those are the most important issues. You've got to have, you know, a stable political environment before you can do anything. You know, and anybody who doesn't get that doesn't get the first thing about what Nigeria is all about. And in terms of, look, this government will say that, look, the resources available and so on and so forth, they didn't inherit. Look, in addition to what this government earns from the exportation of crude oil, by their own admission, they've borrowed an additional $10 billion. And as we have come to know now, they have been raiding the Nigerian liquid gas account. They've raided the account to the tunes of billions of dollars. Ecological fund, all over. There is one that the House of Representatives, you know, is processing. So all this tells you that, look, the gap, this government has a huge credibility gap. And I'm not saying so because I'm opposed to it.
If you allow me here, let's look at the two documents by the two leading political parties. It's looking like a two-horse race already. These are feel-good promises that speak to the concerns of Nigerians. They're talking about jobs, human capital development, the economy, security. One, do you think that for the first time we're going to see an issue-based campaign? Two, do you think that these are too ambitious or they're just, you know, achievable?
Look, there's no need to mystify things. You know, look, all campaigns in Nigeria, to a large extent, quote and unquote, have been issue-based. All these issues that we are talking about, most of them are rhetorical. He will come out and say, I will improve education, I will improve power. Look at the power situation in this country, for instance. Now, the same government that is coming in, that promised that power will become stable after 6 months in office, now we are going to 4 years. What has happened to it? You know, so look, to talk about issues, these are platitudes, you know. It's not that I don't want to listen to platitudes just for the sake of it. You have to grapple with the reality, you know, of what in the conduct of Buhari. You know, the second term of the election campaign is always a referendum on the incumbent. So you take it up, you take the Buhari government, you know, up on what they themselves have claimed, you know, to be their priority areas, which is security, anti-corruption, and the economy. And, you know, it's not only Nigerians that have scored them low, but almost all the international community. The reason why it is said that it's usually a referendum on the incumbent is that the opponents, the candidate coming in, the challenger, of course, will promise all the things. You know, the opponent is always the ideal candidate, right? It will, of course, aspire. The ambition is to always perform in all areas of governance. And look, Nigeria has never been short of good policy documents. What is the problem we have is the implementation gap. So you can go around campaigning that I will build 1,000 schools. That's an issue-based, but to what extent is that realizable? So now what we have to do is deal with the reality that we have in Nigeria today. You know, Ronald Reagan made something when he was campaigning in 1980 against Jimmy Carter. That, are you better off now than 4 years ago? That is the question Nigerians should be asking themselves. Are Nigerians better off now than before?
Osuntokun, there's another question. Yeah, there's another question that I would like you to respond to. I mean, yes, it is true we have what is beginning to look like a two-horse race, right? Now, but people are saying that working strongly for President Buhari is his credibility. And that in terms of credibility, the candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, will seem to be at a lower rung on the credibility question. That is one. Two, the National Assembly members are also starting their own campaigns. What kind of assembly, what kind of National Assembly do you think Nigerians would like to see in 2019 compared to this National Assembly, the 8th Assembly?
Well, you know, Nigerians should thank God that General Buhari has been given the opportunity to prove himself. All what you are saying is a false narrative. That is, what credibility does he have? Maybe he had that before he became president. It was a myth. It was a myth that has been roundly, you know, exploded. And what credibility do you want to look at? All the aspects of the government, how corruption, the intensification of corruption in the country, or the insecurity of what? So I don't understand what you mean by that he has credibility. What the past 3.5 years have proven exactly is precisely the fact that is a non-starter. I mean, that is a Buhari of a myth. It's not the Buhari that we are talking about now. So I'm sorry, the Transparency International rated Nigeria, well, please, the Transparency International rated Nigeria as worse in terms of corruption now than before. Is that a pass mark for a president you are attributing credibility to?
Look at
the degeneracy.
Will it be correct, Osuntokun, to also describe you as anti-Buhari and anti-APC? Did you hear me?
You know, you can. Yeah, there's something. I have no objection to that, but that doesn't mean that I'm not telling the truth. I mean, there's no look. This is the problem with the fact that I'm PDP or whatever. You take me up on the issues that I've raised, you know, and that's why I kept on referring to all these international organizations outside of the country who are not partisan. What is their verdict?
There's an issue you haven't responded to.
For this government is the same.
In Dr. Abbas's last question, there's an issue you haven't responded to. He asked about the credibility of the People's Democratic Party candidate, Atiku Abubakar. People say his credibility is questionable as the vice president of the country at that time. He came under fire for some allegations of corruption.
Well, I'm happy you said allegations of corruption. You also have to bear in mind that the presidential candidate of the PDP, you know, has been out of office, has been out of government over 10 years now. So when people keep on harping, this is another false narrative that you know we have to grapple with. Look, there has been he left office in 2007. So between 2007 and now, you have seen further evidence of corruption or what? You see, you don't look. This is one of the problems of Nigeria, is propagation of myths and false narratives, you know, bending the facts in almost every aspect of. So as far as you said, it's an allegation. An allegation can be there or unproven. And you want me, I can't respond to an allegation that has not been proven. What?
The ones you brought up against the current administration are also unproven.
No.
They remain allegations.
They are proven. They are. It's not. They are proven. His own secretary to the former secretary to the federal government. What happened to him? His own secretary, and he didn't want to do anything about it until the same Mr. Credibility, after months, was compelled by Nigerians to respond to the issue. So these are not allegations. There was this man who came around, you stole a lot of money, and then between the president and some of his officials, they smuggled him into Nigeria, smuggled him out of the country. And so, look, I don't understand what you mean, but he has had an opportunity to prove what the kind of person that the kind of president that he is.
Akin, I have this question real quick for you. So you have been known to question Buhari's credibility. So are you denying the allegations right now? Are you denying that you have not...
Which allegations? Which allegations?
You have been noted to...
you don't talk about... Look, which allegations?
Allegations against Atiku. You said that Atiku is not credible.
You said allegations. The allegations they have not been proven. And I told you he left office 11 years ago. So look, why don't we let's deal with the reality that we have now?
Well, Osuntokun,
you know, I wanted you attributing credibility.
I wanted you to comment on the National Assembly, whose members, you know, many of them are also seeking re-election. What kind of National Assembly should Nigerians expect? What kind of lawmakers should Nigerians vote for? Because it looks like this last assembly under Senate President Bukola Saraki had so many issues.
Look, you keep on talking about so many issues about individuals. In any case, to your specific question, from what I've seen so far,
I'm talking about
the list of the candidates, well, it's more of the same. There is no, it's going to be more of the same. There is no, I have not seen any substantial difference in the quality of the candidates who are going to contest for the National Assembly now and the one that we have before. So I don't see any, there's no basis to expect any radically improvement in the quality of the National Assembly when it is coming back. But having said that, look, there's also an element of Nigeria's politics that has to do with learning. I mean, you know, gradual. Look, Nigeria, for whatever anybody may say, we have had now a successful transition from one government to another, to the opposition. Government could have been conducted with a lot more, you know, competence, with a lot more transparency and accountability. But whatever we say, look, it is still there to you know, to a large extent, whatever it is still working, democracy is working. But if we want to zero in on the individual qualities of those who are coming potentially to the next National Assembly, in any case, if I get it right, about 70% of candidates of the two leading parties are actually incumbents. You know, so they are coming. So if you have about 70% of the present membership of the National Assembly coming back next year, so there really isn't any basis as much. But look, unlike many people, I don't lay emphasis as much on the National Assembly. It is the president, whoever the president is the one who sets the agenda, you know, under the presidential system of government. The same thing, look at Trump in America. So the emphasis is not so much on the National Assembly. They will take a cue from the conduct of the president. The president sets the agenda. But because this president has not been able to set any agenda, other than maybe, you know, harassing members of the opposition, you know, flirting. So the man is credible and he keeps on receiving defectors from the other party who are accused of corruption. So, you know, it is not, but as I said, the things you have to bear in mind is that almost a substantial, you know, percentage of members of the National Assembly now are going to come back. You know, so you can take a cue, you can make an influence from that.
Osuntokun.
Second, of course, is that it is the president who sets the agenda.
Osuntokun.
So you should be more worried at the person who becomes the president.
Okay, fine.
That's what you should focus
if we still
on.
have more time, we'll come back to you in Abuja, but we'll come back to Femi Lawson, who is with us in the studio here in Lagos. Femi Lawson, you must have been listening to Osuntokun. I thought you were anti-Buhari. He seems to be worse than you. You know, but would you like to respond to some of the issues that he has raised?
No, I think fundamentally, I want to agree with him to some extent, especially when you look at the quality of people that are coming to the National Assembly come 2019. And I think we must begin to understand that for reasons that people may have, you know, to their discretion, I don't think this National Assembly has been too poor. The truth is that whatever image of controversy that this National Assembly has today is majorly issues between the executive and the National Assembly, not mainly because of issues between the National Assembly and Nigerians. How many legislations in the last 3.5 years of the National Assembly have been of negative impact to us as Nigerians? In what way have the conduct of this set of National Assembly members really negatively impacted on Nigeria? In fact, a lot of times, this National Assembly have saved a lot of situations that would have negatively affected Nigerians. But the truth is that there have been escalated tensions from day one, going by the manner of the emergence of the leadership of the both chambers of the National Assembly, between the executive and the National Assembly. And perpetually, they have created an impression of a National Assembly that is anti-people, that is not working.
Well,
and so I think Nigerians should look beyond the issues between the executive and the National Assembly as it is presently constituted to what really has the National Assembly been able to do. How many bills have they been able to pass into law? How many interventions, you know, have they been able to make on behalf of the Nigerian people?
Before we go quickly, do you think, you know, in terms of the conversation, it is wrong to define this presidential election for 2019 as a two-horse race? Because we focused largely, you know, on President Buhari and the PDP challenger Atiku Abubakar. How about the other candidates? Do you think they stand a chance?
No, the objective thing is what we have done. The truth is that even though there are other candidates in the election, but as it is presently constituted, the race is between the major political parties, PDP and APC.
Do you see the possibility of a dark horse from any of the other political parties?
That is perhaps not visible. Going by the objective realities on the ground, what does it really take to win a presidential election in such a country that we live, where you have to go to 774 local government, where you have to have agents in thousands of wards and polling units, where how many of the other candidates outside these two have not only the financial resources, even the human resources. Some of these political parties that are contesting presidential election today do not even have state offices, not local government offices, state offices for their party. Then how do you take your campaign, your manifesto, how do you get structures? Because election everywhere, even in the United States, are not, the elections are local. That's why you find even the president leaving Washington to states, to campaign for candidates in some of these places, because you must have people on the ground. It is not enough to sit in Abuja or Lagos and draw up beautiful manifestos. You must start from connecting to because it's not a state election, it's not a constituency election, it's an entire nation's election, and you must be connected in terms of human resources to the nooks and crannies of this country. And I think it's only the PDP and APC that have such structure for now.
Thank you so much for joining us on this segment. And Akin, thank you so much right there in Abuja. Thank you for joining us on this segment.
Well, it's now time for a short break.